Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a big one. Immigration in the United States. It's always in the headlines, isn't it?
It really is. And our mission today is to take this comprehensive, evidence-based analysis you've got and, pull out the key takeaways.
Exactly. Cut through some of the noise.
Yeah,
Because the effects, they're not simple at all.
not at all. It's this complex web, really. Trade-offs everywhere, benefits here, costs there, and they don't always land on the same people. It touches everything.
Yeah.
The economy, who we are as a nation, how we get along.
Okay, so let's start with the economy. That's often front and center. Does immigration actually boost the economy overall?
Yes, absolutely. The data is pretty clear on that. Immigration unambiguously increases the aggregate economic output. You look at the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, they project this recent surge alone will boost nominal GDP by, well, trillions over the next decade.
Trillions, okay, that's a huge number. But does that big number trickle down? Does it mean you, listening right now, are necessarily better off?
Ugh, that's the nuance, isn't it? Not always, and not for everyone, especially in the short run. I mean, if you have a large influx of labor suddenly, that can temporarily lower income per capita.
Right.
But, and this is important, immigration also boosts something called total factor productivity. Basically, it helps the economy become more innovative and efficient over time.
Okay, so more efficiency.
Exactly, which leads to gains in income per worker in the longer term. There's research showing, for example, that even a 1% increase in immigrant employment in a state is linked to like a 0.4% to 0.5% increase in income per worker there.
Interesting. But what about the common concern wages for native-born workers? Does immigration push those down?
Well, there can be an effect, yeah. For a specific group, mainly native-born workers with lower levels of education, say 12 years or fewer, the CBO did project some short-term downward pressure on their wages.
Okay, short-term pressure for that group.
Right. But looking at the bigger picture, the long-term negative wage effects for most native-born workers seem minimal. And actually, everyone benefits as consumers from generally lower prices for goods and services.
And innovation. We hear a lot about immigrants starting businesses.
Oh, hugely important. Immigrants are much more likely to start businesses than native-born Americans. And they produce patents at, like, double the rate. It's a real engine for dynamism.
Wow, double the rate.
Yeah. Which makes it kind of strange, actually, that the U.S. still doesn't have a dedicated startup visa to make it easier for immigrant entrepreneurs. It feels like a missed opportunity. You see that pattern sometimes. The costs, maybe policy gaps, are immediate, but the benefits are spread out over the long term.
Got it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the fiscal side? Taxes and spending. Who pays, who benefits?
It's really a tale of two budgets, federal versus state and local. At the federal level, immigration is generally a net positive.
Positive for the federal government.
Primarily through taxes. Immigrants pay income taxes, payroll taxes. The CBO actually projects the recent surge will lower federal deficits by nearly $1 trillion over 10 years. And high-skilled immigrants over their lifetime can contribute, over $1 million net to the federal budget.
$1 million net, okay. But you said two budgets.
Exactly, because it looks very different at the state and local level. Their increases in immigration often mean costs rise faster than revenues.
So that's where the burden comes in.
Often, yes. Think about K-12 education, healthcare, social services. These are largely state and local responsibilities. That same recent surge, it imposed a direct net cost of like $9 billion on state and local governments in just 2023. This difference between federal benefits and local costs fuels a lot of political tension.
Makes sense. What about undocumented immigrants specifically?
Well, they often have lower earnings and can use services, particularly at the local level, which leads to the perception of them being a net fiscal drain there. But it's also crucial to remember they do contribute significantly through sales taxes, property taxes, excise taxes. We're talking tens of billions annually in total taxes paid by undocumented households.
Right. It's complex.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving beyond the dollars and cents, demographics and society, how is immigration changing the country?
Profoundly. I mean, right now, immigration accounts for over 80% of U.S. population growth. It's literally counteracting the aging of the native-born population.
So keeping us younger, essentially.
Exactly, which is a huge strategic asset, really, when you compare us to rivals like Japan or Germany, who are facing demographic decline. But it also means the country's racial and ethnic makeup is changing dramatically.
How so?
Well, think about this. Without the immigration that happened after 1965, the U.S. today would likely be about 75% non-Hispanic white. Instead, it's around 62%.
That's a major shift.
It is. And that kind of change inevitably challenges traditional ideas of national identity. And yeah, it can create social friction. You see this reflected in public opinion, too.
How does that show up?
Well, you've got a situation where, like, nearly 80% of Americans say immigration is generally a good thing for the country. But at the same time, a record high percentage, maybe 78%, see the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border as a crisis or a major problem. And over half believe immigration leads to more crime, even though research often contradicts that. Plus, you have challenges around immigration discrimination and the difficulties faced by people who lack legal status.
So we have all these impacts, economic, fiscal, social. Are they just set in stone? Or can policy actually shape the outcomes?
Oh, policy is crucial. The outcomes aren't fixed at all. The balance of pros and cons can be shifted quite dramatically depending on the choices we make.
Like what kind of choices?
Well, for example, if the U.S. shifted towards a more skills-based immigration system, focusing more on immigrants with higher education and specific job skills, that would likely amplify the economic benefits and reduce some of the fiscal burden, especially at the state and local level.
And what about legal status? Does that matter a lot?
Hugely. Absolutely. Granting legal status to the millions of undocumented immigrants already here could be transformative. It would likely increase their earnings, their tax contributions, shifting many from the cost side of the ledger to the benefit side, both physically and socially.
And integration.
Yeah, investing in integration programs, things like language training, job support, that can really help ease the transition, reduce social friction, and make those sometimes uncomfortable adjustments smoother for everyone involved, both immigrants and the host communities.
So pulling this all together, this deep dive really highlights a paradox, doesn't it? Immigration seems like both this massive long-term strategic plus for the country, but also one of our toughest short-term knots to untangle.
That sums it up well. The upsides, securing our demographic future, driving innovation and economic growth, they're enormous. But the downsides, the short-term wage effects for some, the real fiscal pressures on local communities, the social challenges, those are undeniable too.
So for you listening, what's the key takeaway here?
I think it's that the story of immigration in America isn't finished. It's being written right now by the policy choices we make, or maybe fail to make. The real challenge is crafting policy for the century policy that's honest about the trade-offs, smart about its goals, and fundamentally humane in how it treats people.
And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with.
Yeah, just consider this.
Yeah.
The decisions we make about immigration policy today, who we let in, how we treat them, how we manage the process, these choices, will literally shape the face, the dynamism, and the economic strength of the United States for generations to come. It's a profound responsibility.